It looks like clothes, but it isn't just a suit. It's not just clothes. It is a pressurized life support system. If you get a leak, you could be dead. The world's smallest spacecraft, I call them, because you have to design all of the systems you need for the whole vehicle and shrink them around a person. You need all of your life support systems. You have to provide oxygen to breathe. You need to scrub out the carbon dioxide. You need thermal control for the atmosphere. Our job is to make sure that we have the technologies ready for whatever missions that we're doing next. I'm Amy Ross. I'm the lead of the Advanced Spacesuit Technology Development Lab here at NASA Johnson Space Center. Spacesuit design is predicated on two things. The first thing is where you're going, so what environment you're going to, and the second thing is what you're doing, so what tasks do you have. The history of the evolution of the spacesuit starts with dive suits.
Diver is alone under the water.
During early aviation travel, folks were trying to break all those records, right? Go faster, go higher. There's a guy named Wiley Post, and he realized that to go higher, he needed to have some additional pressure on the body and some additional oxygen. And so he thought the easiest way to do that was to put on one of these dive suits. As aviation developed and as the space industry developed, we kept borrowing from the last thing done. So this was the first spacesuit. This is a Mercury suit. It's really a modified military flight suit.
He speeds at 17,500 miles an hour.
Then came Gemini, the first suit made for spacewalks. But it wasn't perfect.
You need a liquid cooling and ventilation garment. Some of the astronauts got overheated. They fogged up their helmet because they didn't have any cooling system in the suit.
The Apollo 11 suits were custom made for each astronaut by seamstresses at the International Latex Corporation, the industrial arm of bra manufacturer Playtex. Today's spacesuits have a range of fixed torso sizes, with interchangeable parts. Along the way, there were some bizarre iterations.
Spacesuit engineers kind of get a little weird because you start to size people up. We all look pretty normal, but I have on me from 100th percentile to 6th percentile dimensions on my body. And so when you start to put all these different combinations of all these different anthropic measurements into a spacesuit and then see how they act and how they can move, sometimes you learn weird things like, hey, we've tested 10 people and they can get to this knob here, but how this person's put together, they can't. To me, one of the most complicated parts of the suit is just the hand. When I was early in my career, I got to certify the Phase glove for flight. There was an astronaut that we'd been working with for quite a while. His name was Jerry Ross. He's my dad. And it was kind of nerve-wracking because you know that he's going to wear this in the vacuum of space. His life depends on this, and I have to get everything right so that he comes home.
Jerry Ross maneuvered into position for the crew.
So my dad got to fly his gloves, and he actually even stopped while he was in orbit on a spacewalk and called down and thanked me and thanked the team for giving him some really good gloves to use. That was cool.
3, 2, 1.
This footage from the International Space Station is from 2018, but the suits were developed more than 40 years ago. NASA's 2017 audit says the current suits do not offer a sufficient range of torso sizing. This excludes some astronauts from participating in spacewalks.
First all-female spacewalk has been scrubbed because there's not enough suits.
McLean realized during her first spacewalk that this medium-sized hard upper torso fits her best, but, quote, only one medium-sized torso can actually be made ready by Friday.
Right now, we're wasting most of our energy in the current suit systems. It's keeping someone alive. They're fantastic engineering marvels, but I don't want to be fighting the gas pressurized suit. I'm in a big balloon, and it's really, really hard to move. I'm David Newman, the Apollo Program Professor of Astronautics at MIT. The future is about getting back to the moon and going to Mars. So now we need a locomotion suit. We need locomotion capability, which our current systems don't have.
You don't mind a little dirt here and there, do you, Jay? Would you cover and help twinkle toes, please? Okay. How'd you like that? Beautiful maneuver there, Charlie. What do you do for an encore?
We're going to Mars to search for the evidence of life. So you need to be like an elite athlete. This is an advanced concept for a locomotion suit for the moon and Mars, version 5 of the mock-up. I don't know, kind of looks like a Spider-Man suit. I think it's always important to be thinking 10 years out. So our research into the biosuit says, here's the human performance. I want to have a mobile astronaut explorer. Now, how can I have a very tight-fitting suit? Biosuit uses what's called mechanical counterpressure, putting the pressure to keep the person alive directly on the skin. That way, we design from the human out, so that we can really gain a lot of mobility. You need to have pressure to stay alive when you're in the vacuum of space, so to cinch it up, if you will, apply some active materials. That's a nickel titanium. Some people know them as artificial muscle. So you apply a voltage and they constrict.
3, 2, 1, release, release, release. Fire, fire.
Private companies are not only designing rockets, they're also making their own flight suits.
Well, we're making spacesuits together. It's great to work with a friend who has got a company like Under Armour.
Where we can play a small part is a very cool thing, I think, for our brand. And these guys are doing the heavy lifting, but it's cool to be a part of what's happening with the growth of humanity.
These suits aren't meant for spacewalks, but could protect passengers in case of a loss of cabin pressure.
If you're sending someone into space, it's really important that they feel and look great. And, they look in the mirror the day before they go to space and think, I feel looked at.
I mean, it's dangerous. It's a dangerous trip. You want to look good, Man, it took us 3 years to design that spacesuit. It was real hard. It's easy to make a spacesuit that looks good but doesn't work, or that works but doesn't look good. It's really difficult to make a spacesuit that looks good and works.
Keeping the person alive is pretty much the #1 requirement. So we think the suits are beautiful because that's the way they turn out. Here at the Advanced Spacesuit Technology Development Lab, we're looking toward the moon surface missions and the Mars surface missions. So that means we work on the spacesuits past the ones that are currently flying in space today.
Amy is working on a new suit, the Z2.
Our Z25 spacesuit is currently in testing. We're trying to understand how to build suits for long-duration surface missions. Imagine trying to make your jeans last for 3 years while you're doing hard labor in dirt. There's a challenge there.
The realization of new spacesuit designs is still many years off and dependent on testing, flight certification, and funding.
Spaceflight is about raising up all of our potential. Designing a suit to go to Mars is about the biggest challenge I can think of. With the commercial space industry that's emerging, I think it's really a positive thing overall because it really just gets folks involved in space, thinking about space, and as you think about space, you also look back to Earth.